some way on time here. I'm Jessica Funneberg. I'm the math instructional facilitator, so I work with the math teachers on instructional strategies. I've also been in and out of the classrooms, getting to know the students and working with them. So I wanted to know, I'm kind of walking us through this presentation tonight. My contact information will be up in just a minute if you ever need anything from me. And also, your math teachers down there, their contact information is right below on your agenda. So I thought that would be a great place for you to write that down, or anything else that you need on this sheet. There's also really awesome websites that Mr. Hedgepeth is going to talk about at the end of our presentation. They're on the back of your agenda. So don't worry or stress about trying to write information down. We try to put everything on this sheet for you. That way you can make sure that you're asking the questions if you have any. To get started, me and Miss Messer went through the math classrooms and we shot a little bit of video so you can kind of see what's going on in your student's classroom. I'm going to kind of narrate a little bit of it because the sound is a little bit off in some clips, but you'll see a little bit of what's been going on so far this year. This presentation is also got a hyperlink, and I'll give you that link at the end of tonight. So I want you to see in our math classrooms, there's standards-based classrooms, and the standards are posted in each classroom. This is Miss Mathis in her foundations class. They use a program called Edgenuity to teach content for content instruction, and she's also there to guide and help as needed. So this is just a little bit of what you would see in her class. This is Mr. Dees. He teaches math and finance for 9th graders, and he also teaches foundations of math for 9th graders. Just a little bit of an example of what they've been working on in class. I think right here he's going over the bell work, so when your students come in, there's usually 1 or 2 problems that they're working on, and he reviews it. This is Miss McKenzie. In her Algebra 1 class, they're working on a collaborative activity. She's monitoring and coming around as needed. I thought this was a great clip. They look like they're doing sign language, but they're actually communicating to each other. There's some math going on. This is Miss Evans in her analytic geometry class. A couple things I want to point out is in her class every day, the students have a posted learning target. So by the time they walk out of that classroom, they should know, okay, I should be able to do this when I walk out the door. And this is an example of her bell ringer, and she's going over it.
Absolutely. Did we hear what you said? Repeat that again so Shamika can hear you on this side of the back.
Let's see if y'all can hear. I like this clip. The student is responding, and she's asking them to rephrase what she said.
Is it rational or irrational? Irrational.
Peers do a lot better when they can hear it from each other and not only just the teacher.
That help you determine the degree leaving of the polynomial.
This is Dr. Johnson and Miss Mathis in her analytic geometry class.
We don't see a variable. What exponent is it? Is it linear? You don't see it?
It's constant.
So what is the exponent? If you don't see a variable, no. It's 9. How do you put a polynomial in standard form? What do? You rearrange. Okay, the terms with the variables and the exponents from greatest to least, largest to smallest.
This is advanced algebra with Mr. Cornelius. And they were also doing group work. They were using data from shoe sizes, so I filmed that so you guys can see what they're doing. But they've been working on an extended task for its last several days on statistics. As they were working, Mr. Cornelius and Miss Aaron were kind of circulating around and helping each group. But they were doing a good job of asking their partner for help and working together in that way. This is Miss Lee. They're working on the same task, so same prep, 2 different teachers.
Not bar chart. Okay, so if I've got lady shoe sizes here, make sure that you do label stuff. If this do this if I don't want to start at zero? What's the answer to that?
A lot of the students were pretty shy once I put a camera in their face, but they're doing a pretty good job of helping each other out. And like I said, this was an extended test. They've taken several days to analyze this data. They had to make histograms and perform other calculations and put it all together. This is a pre-calculus class with Mr. Hedgepeth. What you first saw was, I think it was a bell ringer with a roller coaster problem, more real life applications pulled in there, and now they're working on collaborative work.
That's the greatest, or not greatest, that's just, you have to have all this stuff. It actually, that's what I want to see up there.
Alright, this next part is something called academic focus. We've called it extended learning time before. Our 9th and 10th graders are working on math on Mondays and Tuesdays during this time. And this is Miss Gina Clark's class with Tyler Messer. He's our senior tutor that comes in. We have seniors coming into these classrooms and helping out the students with math. I've even pulled a couple of juniors into my classes as well to help the students. And Tyler does a really good job of guiding the instruction and not just having the students work on the worksheet. So he goes over problems at the board. He has students come up to the board and helps them out. And it's really that extra time to have them practice their math skills and hopefully help any gaps or any problems that they're having in their math classes.
10 plus 4 from here. You have your 2W from the original here. And then, so, you have 2W and 4W, you can 6 that times width. Okay, so now you have the width of the rectangle. So this is 13. And there's no x. So that means that when you have an x on this side, the x on this side cannot equal it. So let's just throw a coefficient in front of it. So if we have an x on this side and an x on this side, subtract this x, just for example, you have 0 equals x. Hey look, there's one solution.
Right, and I had Mr. Nicholas helping me edit this video, so I wanted to give him some credit. He worked really hard on that. We had about an hour of film that he narrowed down. So I wanted you guys to get a glimpse of what your child's classroom actually looks like and what it looks like they're doing. In just a minute, you're going to be able to see a sample assessment question from the units that they're working on, and each math teacher is going to kind of stand up and tell a little bit about the content that they're working on right now, and if there's any big major assessment coming up. Because I know as a parent, I would like to know, do they have a test this week? Is there one coming up next week? What are they studying right now? So we're going to try to answer those questions for you in just a minute. Before I get to that, I think you're going to see when we show you these sample questions that they're pretty difficult. The math work has definitely increased in rigor over the last couple of years, especially with Common Core standards coming through. So I wanted to take just a few minutes and talk to you guys. Why is the math work more rigorous? Where is this coming from? And how can I help my students? It's really the goal of this whole workshop together. So once again, I'm Mrs. Funderburk. If you missed me when I first started, I'm the math instructional facilitator. I work with the math teachers. We work on instructional strategies. I also help support the students with that extended learning time and making worksheets for them and going in and making sure that time is really helping support what they're doing in the classroom. So one reason that the math work is becoming more rigorous is that we've been working really hard on our high school graduation rates. However, once our high schoolers get to college, this is where the problem lies. Okay, these are 4-year graduation rates from 2008 to 2011, so that cohort right here, and these are Georgia colleges. So if you look at Emory University, a graduation rate of 83%, that sounds pretty nice. I would hope that if I'm spending that much money, I'd be graduating, right? Okay, but what's scary is when you look at Kennesaw State University or one of these colleges down here, only 10% of our high school graduates that are going to Kennesaw State University, and this is statewide, not just Peach County, but only 10% are graduating within those 4 years. Now, does that mean that not 90% are not graduating? No, some people take longer. However, what we're seeing here is that we're getting them to college, but they're not ready. they're not ready for the rigor of what college work is going to bring. So that's one of the reasons and one of the shifts for the Common Core standards and what's going on in these math classes that you're seeing. That's one reason we're trying to make the work a little more rigorous to prepare them for college and career. So the ACT actually sets a benchmark for what they believe is, here's this benchmark. If they can reach this, then they are college and career ready. Okay? According to the 2014 ACT results, they would say only 43% of students actually met that benchmark. So the ACT, the students that took the ACT, only 43% met that benchmark, and according to them, were they college ready. And that's not doing so hot when we really want our students to be prepared. So that's one of the reasons, along with many, that we are increasing the rigor in their classes and also including more real-life applications. So speaking of that, I think you have a handout on some of the shifts in the curriculum. I think it's in there.
Yes, they have a hand, each one of these slides is actually in their handout.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I really like this chart because it talks about what are the differences in the curriculum now as they were several years ago, and then what can I do as a parent to help my student. Okay, so I want to provide you with as many things as you could at home to help support your child. So some of the things that you're going to see that are different with the curriculum is that we are building skills across the grade levels, okay? So they might be doing quadratics in 9th grade, they might be doing it in 10th grade, they might be doing it in 11th grade, but they're going to be building on that every single year. Now what's important about that, and what can you do to help? Well, as a parent, you can be aware of what your child struggled with last year, because there's a good chance it's going to come up again this year, and the more you can tell us as teachers, the better we can support your child. If you communicate with us, hey, he had a really hard time with the unit on linear functions, so we might need to, give him some extra practice, give him some support on that, so when he sees it again next year, he'll be ready for that. Okay, so that's one thing you guys can do, and that's one thing you'll see is going to be coming up with this curriculum. Okay, you'll also see that the students are learning more about less. Okay, the same topics are coming up over and over, but you start looking at these problems and you think, oh, I know how to do this. But there's several steps to them, okay? They're learning more, they're digging deeper into less topics, okay? One thing I know as math teachers here at Peach County and pretty much everywhere are seeing is our students are struggling with mental math and kind of quick calculations, okay? We're really, really reliant on a calculator, which is very good in sometimes, but in sometimes we really just need to be able to multiply, okay? So something we're seeing is we need our students to be able to use math facts easily and to be able to think fast and solve problems. And if you read these shifts down the side and you pretend that you're an employer, wouldn't these be the kind of traits that you would want to hire in someone? You would want to hire someone that is good at these things. So that's where this shift is coming from. We're trying to prepare our students to be ready for the rigor of college, but also to be ready for a career. So that's where some of these shifts are coming from. And I'm not going to read the rest to you, but I thought this would be a good thing to share with you guys so you can see some of the differences and what you guys can do to help and support it. Okay? The next thing I just wanted to share with you briefly, you've probably heard about the milestones. We started them last year. It's our new way of assessing our end-of-course assessments. Analytic Geometry and Algebra 1 will have a milestone this year, so I just wanted to bring that up so you knew the name. And some of the differences in these testing is that they're multiple choice questions, but they also have constructed response questions. And one thing that we have done as math teachers to prepare your child for this is when we're writing our tests, we try to model the format of the milestone. So they're going to see multiple choice, and they're going to see constructed response. So that way, while they're taking these tests, they can build those study skills, they can learn those test-taking strategies that help them with multiple choice questions. And when they get to the milestone, they'll be ready. So the next part of this presentation is I'm hoping the goal is that you'll be able to meet some of your students' math teachers. You'll be able to see what they're doing in class. And we're also going to see just how smart you guys are. So real quick before we get started, I think you got one of these cards. If you didn't, it's okay, because we probably won't answer every question. This is called clickers. I'm trying real hard to advocate and get my math teachers to use this. If you see on the card really, really closely, there's an A, a B, a C, and a D. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a sample question from each course, something that might be on their test. Okay? Take a few minutes. You could work it out if you feel really awesome. We might be a little tired at 6 o'clock tonight. But if you want to just take a guess, what I want you to do is rotate your card so that the correct answer is facing up. So right now I have B because B is the top letter on my card. So you're just going to rotate it to your answer choice. Once you're there, I'm going to scan your card, show you how that goes, and we'll go from there. So the first question is going to come from our Foundations of Math class. And this is from Miss Mathis's class. Okay. So here's the question. This one is the only one that's really small, and I'm sorry. Fractions get kind of ugly when they're on the screen. I think your kids would agree. We've got several fractions, and they're having to compare them. So if those that are close enough to read it, or if you just want to play the game with me, just to make me happy, take your card and rotate it so that the correct answer is facing up. And I'll come around and scan your card. We're only going to take just a few seconds to do this because I don't want to be here all night. What's really cool is as I'm scanning, it's recording all your answer choices. And if I knew all of your names and I knew what card you were going to have, I could have you programmed so I would know exactly that Johnny put A and Melissa put B and so forth. So I'm quickly scanning, and we won't do this every time. But as you can see, as I scan, you should see your card light up that you answered the question. There we go. Okay. And I scanned a couple of people so you can see. We'll play every once in a while. We won't do every single question, but that's one strategy that we've tried to incorporate. So here's a foundations algebra question. I'm going to let Ms. Mathis come up and just talk about, why we picked this question and what she's doing in her math class, and we'll go from there. All right, Ms. Mathis.
Hello, everyone. Hello. I am Tanisha Mathis, and as Ms. Vanderburg said, I teach Foundations of Algebra, Analytic Geometry, and Math and Finance this year. But this is Foundations of Algebra. I know it's awesome. But now we have just started our unit on fractions, and all of my babies are scared of fractions, so we're going to help our babies to overcome our fear of fractions. This is one of the questions where they are ordering fractions. They're putting the fractions in order on the number line with different denominators, like say, is 3/8 bigger than 1/3, or is 3/8 bigger than 2/12? Like they have to know how to put the fractions in order. Last week we were multiplying fractions. This week we have started dividing fractions. In fact, yesterday and today we were dividing fractions with fractions and whole numbers. Tomorrow and Thursday we're going to be dividing where there's a fraction in the numerator and a fraction in the denominator. And on Monday they will have a test over ordering fractions, well no, not ordering fractions, I'm sorry, over multiplying fractions and dividing fractions. And the answer to this beautiful question, because fractions are beautiful when they get on the screen, is C. That was the answer, the correct answer. Any questions for me? No?
All right. Our next question coming from Algebra 1. So let you take just a few seconds to read it, and I'll walk around again with my little iPad. But I just want you to get an idea of what your students are seeing, and I can make this bigger. There we go.
The cards are free.
I see some people with pencils out. This is good. We might recruit you for our math class. I'll save the clickers for this one, and we'll do clickers next time. Oh, do we really want to do it? Oh, okay. I'm scared.
No, you can't cheat. I know if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's how business cards go.
I'll do cards, yeah.
Ooh.
Doesn't like your card. It might be because it's dark in here.
Even though, did you even look at that?
Miss Master, you want to hit the lights for us? I think it doesn't like the darkness.
Eventually.
Oh.
I'm standing at the start. Okay, so there's a couple people we got their answer choices. There we go. We got our answer choices in. What I like about this is you can see real quickly who answered what. So I'm going to let Miss McKenzie come up and talk about this problem and tell you guys what they're working on in Algebra 1 right now and when they have their next big assessment. So, Miss McKenzie.
Good afternoon. This in Algebra 1, we are in Unit 2, and we're working on equations and inequalities. And today we were actually solving, well, we were reviewing for our test on tomorrow, and we were solving actual literal equations where they actually didn't have any, very little numbers in the equation. They were working with all variables. But this one is, they will actually write the equation for this. For this one, they will actually solve it. But the answer here would have been D, that everybody get $24. But with this one, they will actually write the equation and then solve, and I would ask them to actually find out how much money does Clarence, David, and Money each have. So on that one, we were writing equations, inequalities from word problems also. That's what we were doing in Unit 2. And we're gonna take the first part of our Unit 2 exam tomorrow. Then we're gonna still be working on Unit 2, and we're gonna start with sequences, arithmetic sequences on Thursday and Friday.
What would that equation be? So the equality be?
This one, it says Clarence has twice as much money as Money, and Money has $6 less than Javen. Together they have $54. So Javen would have X, because we don't know how much money he actually has. And Money has $6 less than Javen, so Money would have X minus 6. And Clarence has twice as much money as Money, so that would be 2 times X minus 6. So it'd be X plus X minus 6 plus 2 times X minus 6 equals 54. Okay? Make sure you, when you're doing Clarence, you would have to put that in parentheses, 2 times X minus 6.
All right. Sounds like we're liking her. But our next question comes from analytic geometry. Okay, this is what they're working on right now. They are adding and subtracting polynomials and multiplying them. So I don't know if you want to give this a try. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. I'm sure your students hear that often. But I'll give you a couple minutes. Some tables are turning into like trivia teams. This is good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and reveal our answer. The excitement continues. The answer is A, and I'm going to let Dr. Johnson come up and explain where this problem came from, why we chose it, and what they're working on in analytic geometry right now.
Hello, how's everyone doing this evening? I'm Dr. Storber Johnson. Okay, we began this particular portion of the unit by classifying a polynomial by the degree, that is the highest exponent, or the number of terms. Okay, the number of terms, 1 monomial, 2 binomial, 3 trinomial. And the way that you determine a term is you have a number or a variable with an exponent, or the product of a number and a variable with an exponent separated by a subtraction or addition sign. So we chose this particular problem just to demonstrate how the students were adding polynomials. And once again, the answer was A. 2x squared plus 5x squared is 7x squared. Minus 5x plus minus 3x is minus 8x. And 6 plus 4 is 10. Okay, you combine like terms. We got it? We began this particular unit by working on radicals, square roots, and perfect squares. We continue by identifying rational and irrational numbers, and once again, we ended by adding and subtracting polynomials. And yesterday and today, we were working on multiplying of polynomials, and we will have a unit test on Friday.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Our next question comes from advanced algebra. Some people are really attempting this one. We've got standard deviation going on, normal distributions. Cornelius and Miss Lee are our advanced algebra teachers. Go ahead and share the correct answer, and then I'll let Mr. Cornelius tell us a little bit about this problem. It's C, and we might need a little bit of help, Mr. Cornelius, with this one.
Okay, well, I'm Cornelius, and I teach advanced algebra. I also have a math and finance class. And we've been doing the normal distribution in that business for about 4 or 5 weeks. And we just finished the culminating task Friday, Monday-ish. Had a few students that needed to work on it over the weekend, so you might have seen some of their work at home. But now, the students will tell you about the last week and a half, just about every day they walked in, they had to draw and label a normal curve. And we would start doing that as like an activated strategy. And then we might have a question like this, which was a hot question or a high order thinking question. And the students know at this point the different percentages within the ranges from the average, which is typically in the middle. So when you're doing a question like this, we kind of share some logic and common sense along with the ability to do the problem. Because when you read that, and the main question is about how many fish, so that should negate 2 of those choices right there, because A and B don't even talk about the fish. It deals with a percentage. So, but the students know that when we start with the 3 kilograms and then back off the standard deviations, then we have about 16% of the population that we're considering. That's our favorable side. And then you just multiply the 16% times the total, and that'll give us about 288. But we've been, we did the culminating task, and got a whole bunch of posters and flip charts and all kinds of things that the students created. And now we're moving on into quadratics. This coming Monday, we should have a quiz on quadratics. Today, we did plotting on the complex plane, and tomorrow we move into adding and subtracting, then into multiplying and dividing, quadratics, and, complex number, I should say, complex number. That's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Cornelius. All right, next we've got, I'm not gonna make you guys do this one. We've got a pre-calculus problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Mr. Hedgepeth come up here. You can try it while he talks, if you want to.
This is what we're doing in pre-cal right now. We're working with conics, which is shapes such as ellipses, hyperbolas, circles, and we're doing parabolas right now. We've already finished with ellipses and hyperbolas, but what I chose this question for is to talk about what Ms. Funderburg talked about earlier, is all this is building blocks. Your students know how to do this whole problem before they are walking through, they just don't realize it. And what it is, it's a general form. They have to be able to convert this to another form we call standard form. Once it's in standard form, for any conic, when they get it in standard form, there's a lot of information they can get just from standard form. It makes it real easy. To get from there, they have to be able to factor, they have to be able to identify the greatest common factor, they have to be able to write a binomial squared term. There's a lot of different things that they already know how to do, they just gotta pull it all together in one problem. So that's why I chose that. And once you get in standard form, like I said, it's real easy to identify what the center is and what the radius. Anybody wanna give it a shot? I'm not gonna tell you the answer then. The answer is actually B, but we are working with parabolas right now, and we will have a quiz this week, end of this week on Friday on parabolas, and then next week we'll be finishing up our conics unit. We'll have a test over parabolas, and then incorporate the first part as well, make sure they remember and everything that they've done. And then we'll be moving into matrices, which is just another interesting way to present data and use data. But again, a lot of the stuff in pre-cal is stuff that they've used before, it's just applying it in a different way.
All right, we've got 2 questions left. I'm gonna let Miss Lee come up and talk about her AP statistics question, and I'm gonna let you guys try the math finance one, which is our last one. Here's AP statistics with Miss Lee.
And then the unit we're doing in AP statistics builds on the one that they did in the 11th grade advanced algebra. Some of them do take it as 10th grade. And this is about experiments, experimental design, observation studies versus experimental studies. So in one study on the effect of niacin on cholesterol level, 100 subjects who acknowledged being long-term niacin takers had their cholesterol levels compared with those of 100 people who had never taken niacin. In a second study, 50 subjects were randomly chosen to receive niacin and 50 were chosen to receive a placebo. Which statement is true? Well, our students have had to be able to tell the difference between an observation, where they would make an inference, and an actual experiment, where they have a control group and a treatment group. So selection here says this first study was a controlled experiment, while the second was an observational study. The first study was an observational study, while the second was a controlled experiment. C is both were controlled experiments. D, both studies was observational studies. Now, if it's a experiment, we actually treat somebody or do something. Okay, if it's an observational study, I just ask you a question. I just look at it. Okay, so which one do you think it was?
Might have to tell us it's getting late.
Okay, so correct answer is B. The first one was observational. They just did what? Okay, they just compared people together. They didn't do anything to them. But the second one, they actually got some niacin, so that's an experiment. So the correct answer here is B. Right now, they're planning a taste test. We're gonna have a couple other classes come and visit and see if one thing tastes better than another. And they have to set up that experiment and get all that good stuff. We are in chapter 5. We're bouncing around a little bit. So we should be wrapping that up next week with the test, and we'll be going back to doing the first stuff pretty soon, which is correlation regression.
All right, I'm throwing up our last question. I'm gonna let you guys try this one. If it will come up, I think it will, maybe not. There we go. This is from our 12th grade math and finance class. And I bet some of you deal with this all the time, so you might be able to try this one. So I'll give you 2 seconds to look at it. This will be our last question before we start talking about, okay, now how can you help your students with these difficult questions at home? I tried to make it big. All right, any guesses you want me to scan before we leave? This question, Mr. Cornelius is telling me. Don't give away your testing. So I'm gonna let Ms. Evans talk about our question. The right answer is D. So I had somebody get D right. Congratulations. Whoever said he picks a D every time. That might be a good strategy. All right, so this is Ms. Evans. This is 12th grade math of finance.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Evans, and yeah, this is the 12th grade math of finance. The 12th grade math of finance, the standards focus on the real world applications of employment and taxes. That's where we are right now. And there are a lot of standards or a lot of topics underneath the standards, but right now we were focusing on the employment and taxes, health benefits, and calculating payroll and calculating unemployment compensation, anything that deals with employment and taxes, the Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, and things like that. Now, this question came from the insurance with the health care. And this question may seem easy. Does it seem easy to you? This question may seem easy, but the key is, with the students, I have to make sure that they first identify what is the question asking you to find out. Because sometimes you'll look at the question, and if you look at it really fast, it says Martha's employee benefits includes family health care coverage. And it tells you what she contributes to the cost. And then it tells you that she's paid bi-weekly and the amount and how much is taken out each month. But the question is asking what's her employer's contribution. And what students will do is just go ahead and calculate it, and that first answer they get, which will be Martha's contribution, they will answer that question that way. So I have them to think about what the question is asking, and then did they give you enough information or choose what information you need from the problem to solve the problem. And then there are some unspoken skills in there that they need. Like, yes, they're using addition, multiplication, division, and subtraction. And then with the vocabulary, what's the difference between getting paid bi-weekly and semi-monthly? Are they the same thing? Are they the same? So we had to talk about that. And then knowing the difference between what they're asking, because at the end it turns around and say, not just what is the employer's contribution, what is the employer's contribution annually? So they have to make sure they clearly answer the question. So a lot of the problems are like this, and so we spend a lot of time finding out what information is needed to answer the question. What's the question really asking, and am I answering that question? So, yes, the correct answer is D on that one. And we have, right now, the students in the 12th grade math and finance class are working on a project, a unit project as a final exam, where they'll create a job resume and all that goes with it in class as if they are applying for the actual job that they plan on doing. And in addition to that, some other topics, they have 4 other topics that they're working on. So right now, that's what they're working on, unit project. And next we will be on checking and savings, compound interest, simple interest. So that's where we're going next.
All right, so now that I've overwhelmed you with our questions, we're going to really focus on what can you do as parents to support your students at home. So I'm going to have Mr. Hedgepeth come up and share a couple of these resources. And you do have these in your handouts and you have the links to them, but I wanted him to be able to talk a little bit about it and elaborate. So here we go.
Let me introduce this first. Here's one thing you can do, okay? With us today is Brad Pretty, right over here. He is a student at Fort Valley State University. Brad helped us last year. He volunteers his time every Tuesday and Thursday. He comes out to school here. He'll be here from 3 to 4:30. He is an engineering major, lots of math background, loves doing this because it reminds him that he can really focus in on some of the smaller applications of math, some of the more basic math that he hadn't done for a while, so it helps him out as well, but he is a tremendous help. So please, if your students can get here from 3 to 4:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that would be great. If you can't, and you need another day, most of the math teachers are here in the afternoons, and our doors are always open. So please coordinate with your math, have your student coordinate with their math teacher to find out when they are available for tutoring, okay? It always comes up, can you give me some websites? So what we've done is you have a yellow sheet with a lot of useful math websites on it. All right, you can go to any of these. And then you also, on the back of your agenda sheet, you have 3 that we kind of are our favorites, I guess, would be lack of a better way. The first one is Khan Academy. Also, if you want to get to it really quick, you can go to the Peach County website, and if you click on resources, it will have a link there for Khan Academy. So you can just go right to it and click on it. Khan Academy is very good. This gentleman does explanations on different topics. He does lots of different subjects, so even if it's not math, you can get some different videos of that. The nice thing about Khan Academy is it does videos, and then he will follow it up with practice examples, and then he will give you a quiz and assess how you know it. So there's a lot of really good stuff in there in one site. It's getting better and better every day, okay? So you can go in there and click on it, just do a normal search, just like you were doing a Google search or Yahoo search or any other kind of search. On the website, click on adding, subtracting polynomials, and it'll give you like 4 to 5 different videos that you could look at. From there, you can go to practice examples and work on them through. Okay, so real good website to use. Another one is called Patrick JMT, Just Math Tutorials. This one, again, is an excellent tool for tutorials, especially for the higher level maths like AP Stats, Pre-Cal, Advanced Algebra. He does a very good job, and again, you just go to the website, type in what you want, just a whole list of things that you can search on. He does not give as many practice examples or anything, it's more just a tutorial, and then he goes on to the next subject. So, but still a very good website. And the last one is Schmoop, Schmop, whatever you want to call it, okay, here's how it's spelled, okay. This is really nice because what you can do with these standards is it will tell you what standard that it's geared toward. So if your student's working on a specific standard, they can search by that standard. It will go to, again, a tutorial, talk about the standard, give them sample assignments and other resources that will help them. So again, this is a very good website. So those are 3 that we put on there. The rest of them are on here. And I always tell this to parents, just have your student ask or go to Google and search anything else like they would search. For some reason, when it comes to math topics, they think Google can't Google like it does every other topic, because they're really good at going to and finding bazillions of websites on a particular topic. They can do the same thing for math topics, they just don't like to. But these 3 and these other ones are great starting points if you need help on that. Okay, and like Khan Academy has a website that you can log in as a parent as well. So you can have your student logging in, and on the side you can go to Khan Academy and get real smart and impress them. They won't ever know you're there. Okay.
All right, so to finish this off, if you look in your packet, the second page of it, there is an exit survey. Like I said, our goal for tonight was for you to get a chance to meet the math teachers, see what your child is doing in their math classroom, and also to give you resources to be able to help your student at home. So if you don't mind taking a few minutes to fill out that exit survey, and there is a little basket right up there for you to place them when you're finished. And also, if you really want to reference this entire presentation again, this URL right here, tinyurl.com/PCHS math workshop, without the vowels, you can go to that website instead of typing in a really long one, and you can get to all the slides, you can get to the video, anything from there if you would like to have that presentation. Don't forget the teachers' emails are on here. The URL, I don't think it is because we just finished it this afternoon. I thought I'd make it shorter for you than give you a really long one. So that is something you might want to write down, the URL for the presentation. But most of the slides are in here. And the contact information for your math teachers are in here as well. So you don't have to worry about writing that down. Any other questions or anything else? I think we're good. Grab a water bottle or some chips on your way out, and please put your surveys in the basket.